We're joined here in the studio in Washington by Mr. Robert Woodson. He's founder and president of the Woodson Center.
There is a false narrative that the civil rights movement continues to perpetuate to this day. And that false narrative is that the kind of challenges that we see today, the black on black crime, all the despair that you see, is somehow related to the legacy of slavery, discrimination, and racism. And the assumption is that the problems facing black America somehow tied to what white America has or has not done in the past and in the present, and therefore we have all of these race grievance. The civil rights movement has declined into a race grievance industry. Someone said great movements have follow a pattern. They're great inspirational, and then they dissolve into a business and then to a racket. I think we ought to be talking about resurrection, not crucifixion. We spend too much time celebrating crucifixion, and we ought to be talking about our successes. I'm working on a book called Born a Slave, Died a Millionaire. There are 20 blacks who were born slaves who died millionaires. If they were able to achieve this great feat in the midst of that kind of problems, then we can do the same thing today. How can we develop our own communities? How can we make them safer? Black America has a 9/11 every 6 months where 3,000 blacks are killing other blacks. That's not going to be solved by white people doing anything. We have to go into our community, and that's what the Woodson Center is doing. We got gang intervention efforts underway that are successfully changing the attitudes and values of young people. We need to invest in these efforts to heal ourselves from within. When you have a white mother in a white suburban community who lost a 17-year-old daughter to suicide, and a 17-year-old girl, a black girl, mother lost her daughter to homicide, those two women have more in common than they do. To say to this woman, the wealthy white woman who lost a daughter, that somehow her problem is white privilege, and say to this inner city mom that your problem is institutional racism, misses a point. Because we got to come together as a nation to heal this emptiness that is in the lack of meaning on the part of people's lives that is destroying this nation. That's much more important than anything racial. The drug addiction, the violence, the suicide rates, even among affluent communities, the suicide rate in many cases, like in Palo Alto, California, is 6 times the national average. So just economic well-being and family composition isn't enough. There is an absence of meaning in people's lives. But if we are divided on the issues of race, we will not be able to sit down and solve that larger, deeper problem that will take this nation under. We should seek to be inspired instead of always looking, as Bernie said, for if we benefit, white people have to lose. We should look for common ground, and that's what our coalition that we're putting together, Free Speech and Civil Rights Coalition, that we're building. We want to bring the Brett Weinsteins out at Evergreen College, the mom from first here, Beth Feely, who I'm working with, a mom at the New Tier High School, who's organized other moms to resist racial tyranny in the name of inclusion. And so we need to come together and rebuild from the bottom up. But we have to come together and re-heal this nation.